The rain falls like bullets against the roof, and Amara's scream tears through the thunder. The midwife's hands tremble as she lifts the newborn into the lamplight, and the room goes silent. The baby's head is enormous, swollen like a gourd, and the women who moments ago were singing blessings now step backward, their songs dying in their throats. Bako bursts through the door, his face bright with expectation. He has told everyone, promised everyone, that his child would be the most beautiful in all of Mabira. He reaches for the bundle in the midwife's arms, but when she turns, when he sees what his wife has given him, his hands drop to his sides like stones. "What is this thing you gave birth to, woman?" The words cut deeper than any blade. Amara, still bleeding, still weak, pulls her daughter to her chest and whispers through tears, "You are not a mistake. You are my Naya, my light." But Bako has already turned away, and the door slams shut behind him like the closing of a tomb. The midwife and the other women exchange glances, their eyes filled with pity and horror. One by one, they slip out into the storm, and by the time the sun rises, every household in Mabira knows. The great hunter Bako, whose arrows never miss, whose strength is legendary, has been cursed with a daughter whose head is 3 times the size it should be. Some say it is the work of a jealous spirit. Others whisper that Amara must have offended the ancestors. But everyone agrees on one thing: this child is a mark of shame. The village learns quickly. By morning, the whispers have spread through Mabira like smoke. Calabash Head, they call her. The child with the cursed skull. The daughter who shamed the proudest hunter in the land. Amara walks through the market with her baby wrapped tight, and mothers pull their children away as if deformity were contagious. Bako refuses to hold her, refuses to speak her name, and at night Naya's cries echo through a home that has become a prison. Amara tries everything. She consults healers who burn herbs and chant over the baby's head, hoping it will shrink to normal size. She visits the village priestess, who throws bones and declares that only time will reveal whether this is a curse or a test. But nothing changes. Naya's head remains large, impossibly large, and with each passing month, Bako's resentment grows colder and harder, like iron left in winter. He stops hunting. He stops speaking to his wife. He sits outside their hut every evening, staring into the distance, his jaw clenched, his hands balled into fists. The other men try to console him, offering palm wine and empty reassurances, but Bako waves them away. His pride has been shattered, and there is no remedy for that kind of wound. Years pass, and mockery becomes the rhythm of Naya's life. She grows intelligent, curious, kind, but none of it matters. Children chant songs about her head as she walks to the well. Adults fall silent when she approaches, then burst into laughter when she passes. Her only refuge is the forest, where the trees do not judge and the river does not mock, where she can finally breathe without shame crushing her lungs. At 7 years old, Naya learns to make herself small. She walks with her head down, her shoulders hunched, trying to occupy as little space as possible. She speaks only when spoken to, and even then, her voice barely rises above a whisper. Her mother tells her she is beautiful, tells her she is special, tells her that one day the world will see what she sees, but Naya stopped believing in those promises long ago. The other children are merciless. They form circles around her, chanting, "Calabash, Calabash, how much water can you carry? Calabash, Calabash, will your neck break or marry?" They throw pebbles that bounce off her head, and when she cries, they laugh harder. The adults do nothing to stop it. Some even smile, as if cruelty toward a deformed child is simply the natural order of things. But Naya is not weak. Beneath the shame, beneath the fear, something else is growing, a stubborn kind of resilience, a refusal to disappear completely. She begins spending more time in the forest, and the forest, in its ancient wisdom, begins teaching her. She learns which plants heal and which ones poison. She learns how to read the sky, how to track animals, how to find water, even in the dry season. The forest becomes her sanctuary, and in that sanctuary, she begins to remember what her mother once told her, that she is light born of darkness. Then comes the Harvest Festival, the grandest celebration in Mabira's calendar. The whole village gathers in the central square, dressed in their finest cloth, their bodies gleaming with shea butter, their laughter rising like smoke into the sky. There is music, dancing, food piled high on wooden platters. And there is Prince Tamba, the king's only son, standing on a raised platform, surveying his future subjects with the confidence of someone who has never known rejection. Prince Tamba is everything Bako wanted his child to be. Tall, handsome, strong, with a smile that makes young women forget their own names. He is also cruel in the way that beautiful people can afford to be, casually, carelessly, without ever facing consequences. He sees entertainment everywhere, and today, his eyes land on Naya, half hidden behind her mother at the edge of the crowd. Bring her forward. His voice booms across the square, and the music stops. Bring me the girl with the magnificent head. Let's see what talents come with such a blessing. The crowd turns to stare. Naya feels her mother's hand tighten around hers, feels every eye pressing against her skin like hot coals. She wants to run, wants to vanish into the earth, but the crowd is already parting, already pushing her forward, and before she knows it, she is standing at the base of the platform, staring up at the prince who is grinning down at her like a cat that has cornered a mouse.
Come.
Do not be shy. He gestures grandly, and two men lift her onto the platform. The crowd murmurs with anticipation. This is going to be good. This is going to be something they talk about for years. Let's see how many fruits Calabash Head can balance on that magnificent head of hers. The prince places a woven basket on her head, and immediately, laughter ripples through the crowd. He begins adding fruits, mangoes, papayas, coconuts, each one heavier than the last. Naya's neck strains. Her legs tremble. She tries to stay still, tries to hold her dignity, but the weight is too much, the humiliation too great. The basket tilts. The fruits tumble. They bounce and roll across the platform, and the village explodes with laughter. Children shriek with delight. Adults slap their thighs. Even the elders, who should know better, smile behind their hands. Prince Tamba throws his head back, his laughter louder than anyone's, and in that moment, something inside Naya breaks. She runs down the platform steps, through the crowd that parts like water, past her mother's outstretched arms, past the huts and the fields, into the forest where the laughter finally, mercifully, begins to fade. She collapses by the riverbank, sobbing into her hands, her whole body shaking with shame and rage and a desperate, aching loneliness that feels like it will swallow her whole. She stays there until the sun sets, until the stars come out, until her tears run dry. And when she finally lifts her head, she makes a decision. She will not return to the village. Not tonight. Maybe not ever. The forest has always been kinder to her than people. Perhaps it is time to stop fighting that truth. But the forest does not laugh. The forest whispers. And in the months that follow, Naya learns its language. She discovers which leaves stop bleeding, which roots calm fever, which bark draws poison from wounds. She learns that the forest is not empty, but full of life, full of wisdom, full of secrets that humans have forgotten in their rush to build walls and draw lines and decide who is worthy and who is not. She builds a small shelter near the river, woven from branches and covered with broad leaves. She eats fruits and roots, drinks from the stream, bathes under the moonlight. Her mother finds her sometimes, brings her food and fresh cloth, begs her to come home. But Naya always refuses. Home is where her father's shame lives. Home is where mockery waits around every corner. Here in the forest she is simply Naya. Not Calabash Head. Not a curse. Just Naya. Months turn into a year, and the forest transforms her. Her hands grow strong from climbing trees and digging roots. Her eyes sharpen, learning to spot medicinal plants from a distance. Her mind expands, soaking up knowledge the way dry earth soaks up rain. She is no longer the frightened girl who ran from the festival. She is becoming something else, something the village has not seen before. One evening, as the sun bleeds orange through the canopy, she finds him. A man collapsed near the water, blood pooling beneath him, his body covered in scars that tell stories of violence and survival. His breathing is shallow, his skin cold. Most would walk away. Most would let the forest claim him. But Naya is not most people. She has been left to die in her own way, and she refuses to let anyone else suffer that fate if she can help it. She presses moss against his wounds, crushes healing leaves between her teeth, and whispers prayers her mother taught her. The blood slows, then stops. His breathing steadies. For 3 days she tends him, changing his bandages, forcing water between his cracked lips, keeping flies away from his wounds. On the 4th morning, his eyes open. They are dark eyes, deep as wells, and they stare at her face, at her head, and she waits for the familiar look of disgust. Instead, he blinks slowly, confusion giving way to something that looks almost like gratitude. "Thank you." His voice is rough, barely more than a whisper, but the words are clear enough. "You saved me." Naya sits back on her heels, studying him. His face is covered in scars, some old and faded, some fresh and angry. His clothes are torn, stained with blood and dirt. He looks like a man who has walked through fire and barely survived.
"Who are you?" she asks.
He closes his eyes, his brow furrowing as if he is trying to remember something just beyond reach. "I don't know," he finally says. "I remember running, fighting,
Pain.
but before that..." He opens his eyes again, and they are filled with a confusion so profound it borders on fear.
Before that, there is nothing.
Just darkness. Naya considers this. The forest has brought her many things, but never a man with no memory. She should be afraid. She should leave him here and return to her shelter. But something in his eyes, some echo of her own loneliness, makes her stay. "Can you walk?" she asks. He tries to sit up, grimaces, then nods. "I think so." "Then come."
You need food and rest.
Real rest, not just lying on the ground waiting for animals to find you. She helps him to his feet, and together they make their way through the forest. He is weak, leaning heavily on her shoulder, but he does not complain. When they reach her shelter, she helps him lie down, then builds a fire and prepares a meal of roasted plantains and herb tea. He eats slowly, gratefully, and when he is finished, he looks at her with those deep, searching eyes. "Why did you help me?" Naya stares into the fire, watching the flames dance. "Because someone should have helped me," she finally says. "And no one did." He does not ask what she means. Perhaps he can see it in her face, in the way she holds herself, in the size of her head that no amount of kindness can hide. He simply nods, and in that nod, an understanding passes between them, the understanding of people who have both been broken by the world and are still trying to figure out how to put themselves back together. Cato finds work at the pig farm on the outskirts of the village, the lowest position a man can hold. It is hard, dirty work, mucking out pens and hauling feed, but he does it without complaint. The villagers waste no time pairing his shame with Naya's. They call them the cursed pair and the matched set of misery. Children follow them through the streets, chanting cruel rhymes. Adults shake their heads, as if the universe has confirmed something they always suspected, that broken people belong with broken people. But something unexpected blooms between them. In the evening, when the work is done and the mockers have gone home, they sit by the fire and talk. Cato tells her about the fragments of memory that surface in his dreams, flashes of gold and marble, the sound of screaming, the smell of smoke. He does not know what they mean, but they feel important, like pieces of a puzzle he cannot solve. Naya tells him about her childhood, about the mockery and the isolation, about the festival where Prince Tamba turned her into entertainment. She tells him about the forest and how it saved her, how it taught her that there is wisdom outside the village walls, outside the cruel judgments of people who think they know everything. "Scars do not hide the soul," Cato says one night, staring into the flames. "They reveal what survived." Naya looks at him, this broken man with no past, and for the first time in her life, she feels seen. Not pitted, not tolerated.
Seen.
And in that seeing, something warm and fragile begins to grow in her chest, something that feels dangerously like hope. Prince Tamba notices. Pride is a fragile thing, and watching the girl he humiliated find happiness with a pig keeper cracks something inside him. He approaches them at the market one afternoon, his entourage trailing behind him, his voice dripping with venom. She finally found someone who matches her head, a pig keeper with a scar. How romantic. Tell me, does he also balance fruits for your amusement, or is that a privilege reserved for royalty? The crowd laughs on cue, eager to please the prince, eager to participate in the cruelty. But Naya does not run this time. She stands tall, her hand finding Kato's, and they walk away together, their backs straight, their dignity intact. The prince watches them go, and in his chest, jealousy begins to rot. Then the sickness comes. It starts with the children, fever, vomiting, skin turning gray as ash. Within days, half the village is bedridden. Within a week, the king himself is dying, his body racked with convulsions, his mind slipping in and out of consciousness. The royal healer tries everything: chants, sacrifices, imported medicines from distant lands, but nothing works. The bodies keep piling up, and panic spreads faster than the plague. The village that once laughed so easily now weeps. Mothers hold dying children. Husbands bury wives. The elders pray to ancestors who seem to have abandoned them. And in the palace, the king lies on his deathbed, his skin yellow, his breathing ragged, while Prince Tamba paces the halls, terrified that he will lose his father and inherit a kingdom of corpses. Amara finds her daughter in the forest, gathering herbs. She falls to her knees, her eyes red from crying. "Please," she begs. "Please help them. I know they have hurt you. I know they do not deserve your kindness. But please, they're dying, Naya. Your father is sick. The king is dying. Please." Naya hesitates. These are the same people who threw stones at her, who laughed while a prince used her for entertainment, who made her childhood a living nightmare. Why should she help them? Why should she lift a finger to save people who would not cross the street to save her? But when she looks at her mother's face, she sees not the village, but the woman who called her light when everyone else called her curse. The woman who held her when no one else would touch her. The woman who never stopped believing that her daughter was meant for something greater than mockery. "I will help," Naya says quietly. "But not for them. For you." She returns with Kato, and they work through the night. Crushing roots, boiling bark, preparing remedies the forest taught her in exchange for her solitude. She moves from hut to hut, pressing bowls to cracked lips, ignoring the shocked stares, ignoring the whispers of, "Is that really Calabash Head? Is she helping us?" Some people refuse her medicine at first, too proud to accept help from someone they have spent years mocking. But desperation is a powerful teacher, and eventually, even the proudest among them drink from her bowls. By the third day, the fever breaks. Children who were moments from death sit up and ask for food. By the fifth day, the king sits up in his bed, his color returning, his eyes clear. By the seventh day, the village that mocked her is kneeling at her feet. "Naya the healer," the king declares, his voice weak but reverent. "You have saved Mabira. You have saved my life. Name your reward, and it is yours." Her father weeps openly, torn between shame for his rejection and pride for her miracle. He approaches her hesitantly, his hands trembling, and for the first time in her life, he looks her in the eyes. "My daughter," he whispers, his voice breaking. "Forgive me. Please forgive me." Naya stares at him, this man who refused to hold her, who called her a curse, who turned his back on her for 18 years. She wants to hate him. She wants to scream at him, to make him feel a fraction of the pain he caused her. But when she opens her mouth, what comes out is not anger, but exhaustion. "I forgive you," she says quietly, "but I do not forget." The village celebrates, and for the first time, Naya walks through the square without lowering her eyes. Children who once threw stones now bring her flowers. Women who once whispered about her now ask her to teach them about herbs. Men who once laughed now bow their heads in respect. It is dizzying, this sudden reversal, and Naya is not sure how to feel about it. Is this redemption? Or is it simply convenience? Then Prince Tamba kneels before her in front of everyone. His proposal is loud, public, designed to reclaim his pride by claiming her as his prize. Be my wife, Naya the healer.
Rule beside me.
Together, we will lead Mabira into a golden age. The crowd gasps. Bako's mouth falls open. Amara holds her breath. This is everything they dreamed of, the prince himself, asking for her hand. The ultimate validation. The final proof that she is worthy. But Naya does not hear opportunity in his words. She hears possession. She hears a man who humiliated her, who turned her into a spectacle, who only sees her value now that she has proven useful. She looks at the prince who humiliated her, then turns to Kato standing at the edge of the crowd, his scarred face full of quiet love. My heart already belongs, she says softly, but her words carry across the square like thunder. The silence that follows is deafening. The prince's face turns to stone, then to fire. He rises slowly, his humiliation complete, his fury absolute. The crowd holds its breath, waiting to see what he will do. For a long moment, Prince Tamba simply stares at her, his jaw clenched, his hands balled into fists. Then he turns and walks away, his back rigid, his pride shattered. That night, he does not sleep. That night, he plans. Because if there is one thing Prince Tamba cannot tolerate, it is losing to someone he considers beneath him. And a pig keeper with no memory, no name, no past? That is the ultimate insult. The guards come at dawn, their swords drawn, their faces grim. They drag Kato from his hut in chains while Naya screams his name. The charge is treason, betrayal of the crown, crimes punishable by death. The villagers who praised her yesterday now watch in silence as the man she loves is paraded through the streets like a criminal. Naya storms the palace, her voice echoing through the halls. She demands to see the king, demands to know what evidence they have, demands justice. But it is Prince Tamba who meets her in the throne room, his smile cold and sharp. You did this because I refused you. You couldn't stand to see me happy. Her voice cracks, raw with desperation and rage. The prince sits on his throne, his posture relaxed, his eyes glittering with malice. Do not flatter yourself, Calabash Head. That man you defend, you do not even know who he truly is. Perhaps you should ask yourself why a man with no memory carries the scars of a warrior. Why he flinches at the sight of the palace. Why guards from distant kingdoms have been searching for him. The words hit her like a fist. What does he mean? Who is Kato? The prince leans forward, his smile widening. Be careful, Naya the healer. Sometimes the people we save are the ones who destroy us. He waves his hand, and the guards pull her away, her screams fading into the stone corridors. She fights them, claws at them, but they are too strong, and eventually they dump her outside the palace gates like garbage. She collapses in the dirt, her body shaking with sobs, her mind racing with questions that have no answers. In the dungeon, Kato sits in darkness, his wrists raw from iron chains. His head throbs, and behind his eyes, images flash like lightning. A burning palace, betrayal, blood on marble floors, a crown tumbling into flames. He sees faces he does not recognize, hears voices screaming names he cannot remember. His chest tightens with panic, with the terrible feeling that he has forgotten something crucial, something that could save him or damn him. He rubs a scarred arm, and through the dirt and grime, something glows faintly in the dim light filtering through the bars. He scrapes away the filth, and there, burned into his skin, is a royal emblem. Not just any emblem, the crest of the Northern Kingdom, the realm that fell to civil war 15 years ago. His breath catches. Memories slam into him like waves. A boy prince, beloved by his people. A coup led by his uncle. Fire consuming the palace. His mother screams. Running, always running, hunted like an animal. The assassins who found him again and again. The scars that map every attempt on his life. And finally, the blow to the head that stole everything: his past, his name, his identity. The guards whisper outside his cell, their voices low and urgent. Could he be the lost heir? The prince who was supposed to be dead? If the Northern Kingdom finds out he's alive? They trail off, the implications too dangerous to speak aloud. Cato closes his eyes, and for the first time in years, he remembers. His name is not Cato. His name is Amari, Crown Prince of the Northern Kingdom, rightful heir to a throne stolen by blood and betrayal. And if his uncle discovers he is alive, war will come to Mabira. War and death, and all the horrors Naya just saved this village from. Outside the prison gates, Naya stands in the rain, her tears mixing with the storm. She has tried everything, pleading with the elders, offering the king her services for life, even begging Prince Tamba to show mercy. But the doors remain closed, the verdict sealed. Tomorrow at dawn, Cato will be executed for crimes she does not understand. The wind howls through the trees, and a voice carries on it, ancient, ethereal, coming from everywhere and nowhere at once. The one they mocked carries the crown they fear. Her eyes widen, her breath catches, and the world seems to tilt on its axis.
Who is Cato?
What truth has been buried beneath scars and silence? And what will it cost her to uncover it? The screen fades to black, and only questions remain, because sometimes the greatest transformations begin when the weakest are finally seen. If this story has stirred something in you, if you've ever felt unseen or underestimated, if you've ever wondered what happens when the mocked become the mighty and the rejected become the redeemers, then stay with us. Subscribe, because the truth about Cato's past, the fate of Naya's courage, and the reckoning that will shake two kingdoms to their foundations, that story continues in part 2. The crown is coming, and it will not be denied.